Have you ever spent time making a beautiful custom gift only to realize you don't have the right packaging to show it off? Trying to find a box that fits perfectly, especially when you want a window to see the design inside, can be really frustrating. Buying generic boxes is okay, but it doesn't always give you that professional look. Hello, welcome to Creating the Goods. I'm Wendy. Today I'm going to show you how I customize a basic box template to create a matching gift set. We're going to match our digital paper and add a custom acetate window to give it that finished look. So let's get busy and I'll meet you in Cricut Design Space. Here we are in Cricut Design Space, and I've already uploaded our box template that I got from Creative Fabrica. If you're interested in this box, I'll make sure I'll list the link for you in the description box below. I've checked the dimensions, and even though the measurements are off by just a tiny fraction, the size is still good, exactly where it needs to be. The first thing we need to do is ungroup our template so we can change the cut lines to score lines. I'll start with the lid first. I'll ungroup it, then I'll go over here to the layers panel on the right and select just those internal lines. The other lines are our cut lines. Then at the top under operations, I'm changing these from basic cut to score. This is crucial. We don't want to cut those flaps off. We need them to fold. So I'll do the same thing for the bottom of the box as well as the insert. Next, I'm changing the lid to the pattern we use for the keychain, so we have a beautiful matching set. I first need to change it to print and cut. So I'll go up to operations here at the top where it says basic cut, scroll down and select print and cut. Now I'll go over to the color swatch, click on the arrow next to color, and then click pattern. Here's the pattern we use for our keychain. If you didn't watch the making of the keychain and you would like to see how I added this pattern, I will add the link for that video below. I'll click on the pattern and it will be added to the top, and that looks good. We don't need to adjust anything. Now I'll highlight everything, come down to the bottom right and click attach. This ensures our cut line and score lines are attached to our template. Now for the bottom of the box and the insert, I'm going to change the color to a light pink to match the cardstock that I will be using. Then I will highlight each one, come down to the bottom right, and click attach. I want to add a piece of acetate to create a window for our box. Since this template did not come with one, we will create our own. I'll go over to the left, click on shapes, click on a square, then I'll go up to operations, scroll down to guide, and I'm just going to use these sizers to make it slightly bigger than the opening. I will highlight them both, then I'll go up to the top to align, click center align. I'm just going to zoom in so I can make sure it is covering the window. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, and that looks good. I'll change it back to basic cut. I'm going to turn this to a yellow so I know that this is my acetate template. I'll zoom out and move that over. When everything looks good, I'm just going to go up to the top and click make. Here we are on the prepare screen, and I'm going to change my material size to 8.5 by 11. No need to put the mirror on. There's no wording, and it's not HTV. As Cricut calls it, iron-on. For our pink mat, I will also be changing this to 8.5 by 11. And I don't know why, but Cricut will create two mats for this. I'm going to add the box insert to the first mat by clicking on these three dots. Then click Move Object to the first mat, and then click Confirm. The second mat will fall off when we get to the cutting screen. I'll just rotate both the templates so they fit nicely on our cardstock. I will also change the acetate mat to 8.5 by 11. I want the box top to print first, so I will click on that. I'll click on Continue, then send to printer. My paper size is 8.5 by 11. I'm using my Epson ET8550 printer. 1 copy, and my bleed is on. I'll toggle on the system dialog box and then click print. I'm going to add my cardstock to my printer. I'm using 110-pound cardstock. Now, back to my settings. My Epson printer is selected. Color is on. Page size is letter 8.5 by 11. Media and quality is set to feed from the main tray. Media type is cardstock, and quality is set to best. I don't need to flip it horizontally. There's no reason to do that for this project. And I'm just going to click print. Once it's done printing, I will click done. Now, I will choose my base material. I will pick heavy cardstock 80 pound. Even though my cardstock is 110 pound, it feels to me like more of an 80 pound cardstock than 110. I love this cardstock. It's by Pen & Gear, and I got it over at Walmart, and I'll list that in the description box below if you are interested. And I use this all the time. And the setting works well for me. But, of course, always do a test cut to see what works good for you. For my pressure, I will click More. Since I'm using a scoring stylus, I also need to click Edit Tools and switch out the scoring wheel to the scoring stylus, and then just click Apply. To save time, I'm just going to show you the other settings I will be using for the other materials. I'm going to be using the same setting for our pink cardstock. Now, for the acetate, I will click Browse All Materials, go to Plastic, and then click Acetate, and then just click Done. I will just keep this at default, and we don't need to use the scoring stylus. So all I need to do now is load my mat. Here's the material I'll be using. My lid with the print and cut design, my pink cardstock, and a piece of acetate. I need to add my stylus to clamp A, and I'm using HTV Ront Light Grip Mat. I'll make sure the paper is aligned with the arrow on the left side of the mat and use my brayer to smooth it down to ensure it adheres nicely so it doesn't shift while it's cutting. I'll load the mat into the machine, and my Maker 3 will measure it to ensure everything is the right size. Once the Go button starts flashing, I'll click it. The machine will start by reading those registration marks so it knows exactly where to cut around our image. Once that's finalized, it will begin to cut. Once it's finished cutting, I'll check to make sure it cut all the way through before unloading the mat. If it didn't, don't unload. Just click the Go button again for a second pass. Mine did, so I'll unload my mat. I always flip the mat over and peel it away from the paper to keep the cardstock from curling or tearing. Now, I'm going to be speeding through these last two mats, the bottom of our box and our window. And I forgot to tell you earlier, but for the bottom of the box, I'm using 80-pound pink cardstock from the Paper Studio. And I got that over at Hobby Lobby. It's a great weight for these smaller boxes because it holds its shape well, but it's not too bulky. And for the window, I'm using 4mm clear acetate sheet, and I found that over on Amazon. It's made of a durable mylar material that is actually intended for making stencils, but I love them for gift boxes because they are crystal clear and very easy to cut on the Cricut. They provide great support for the opening without being too thick to glue down. I'll be sure to list both of these in the description box below if you are interested. Now that we have everything cut out, let's put our box together. Here's the lid, the acetate window, the bottom of our box, and our insert. I'm using a bone folder, but you could use a scraper, a credit card, anything that creates a good crease. I'm using this all-purpose glue that I got at the dollar store. Now, first I'm going to start with the acetate and get that glued into place on our lid. I'm going to run a bead of glue all around our window. A good amount, but not too much. We don't want it to seep out onto the front of the window. Then I will carefully place our acetate over the opening of our box and lightly press it down, being careful so the glue doesn't ooze out. If it does, just get a clean cloth and wipe it off. I'll put that over to the side and we're just going to let that dry. Next, we have our insert, which is what holds the keychain in place. I'm going to start by folding all my score lines in first, and then I'll fold them back the correct way. It's easier to do it this way than trying to go against the fold, if this makes sense. You'll see why this is easier when I do the lid. Then I will take my bone folder and give those folds a good crease. I want to make sure these edges are nice and sharp, so it sits perfectly in the bottom of our box. Then I will take my glue, add a small amount to the tabs. I'll slide them inward and attach them to the side panel. I'll hold them until they are set into place. I'll go ahead and do the same for the other side. Now, for the bottom of the box, just like I did with the insert, I'm going to start by folding all my score lines inward first. I'll go around all four sides, giving them a quick fold to help define the shape, and then I'll use my bone folder to really sharpen those creases. Once those are ready, I'll take my glue, add a small amount to each of the four tabs. I'll slide those tabs inward and attach them to the side panels. As I press them down, I'm making sure the edges are lined up perfectly and that the corners are nice and square. I'll hold each one for a second to make sure they are secure. You can also use double-sided tape if you prefer. I like to use glue because it's easier to adjust things if they aren't quite straight. Do you prefer using double-sided tape or glue for your projects? Let me know in the comments. Then I will just place the insert into the bottom of the box to see if it fits, and it does. Now for the lid. Thinking about it now, I should have folded it first and then added my window. It may have been easier. I did struggle trying to find my score lines to fold, but this is exactly why I mentioned earlier that folding from both sides makes it easier. Once I turned it over and folded the score lines in from the top side, and then turned it over and folded them back, it went smoothly. Then I just took my bone folder and gave each of the folds a good crease. I added some glue to the tabs, making sure they were aligned, and then pressed them firmly until they were attached. Once that glue is set, our matching gift box is officially complete. Now that all our pieces are ready, let's go ahead and see the finished look. And here's our final result. I'll slide the pink insert into the box. I'll place our matching keychain inside and put the lid on. That is beautiful. This is such a simple way to take your project to the next level. If you are someone who sells your crafts, adding a matching box like this gives your items that high-end professional look that customers really love. And if you're making this as a gift, it adds that extra special touch that shows how much thought you put into it. It really makes the whole presentation stand out. If you enjoyed this project, don't forget to check out the video on how I made the matching keychain. I'll have that linked in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for being here. Bye for now.